everyone. You're watching Build Series in New York City. I'm your host, Lauren Moraski, and I'm thrilled to welcome this next guest. As founding member of Run-dmc, he brought us the hits My Adidas and It's Tricky. He's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, an author, and a comic book creator. Let's face it, this guy is a hip-hop legend. He joins me now to talk about the Concert for Dreams in New York. Please welcome Daryl DMC McDaniels.
Hello, hello. Hi.
What's up, DMC?
How you doing?
We are so happy to have you here today.
This is the coolest place ever.
Isn't it? Did you know that this was
cool.
at Tower Records?
Yes.
Okay.
I came here a lot of times.
Right?
Yeah, back in the day.
Do you remember any records or CDs you bought here?
Everything.
Yeah, right?
We would come here, Jam Master Jay, rest in peace. We would come here and just, you know, go through the crates. Oh, I get this, jazz, blues, rock and roll, the new hip-hop songs and stuff like that. It's a legendary place.
It really is, and it's cool to be here. And it's one of those things with Tower Records, you just like, it was like a thing to do, right?
Yeah,
it was like an event to actually go and look for music like that.
Yeah, it was like, it was cooler than the museum.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, we're so excited to have you here today and talking about something that's really important, and it's a really great cause. It's the Garden of Dreams organization, and there's 2 events coming up. Yes,
it's a concert that we're doing this Friday. All the proceeds for the concerts go to the Garden of Dreams. The backing band is OAR with Mark Roberge. My man Mark.
Yeah,
I know his name is pronounced like Fabergé or something. I'm like, I can say Fabergé, but I can't say your last name. But Mark from OAR and his band and back in the day. And the whole thing is, it's going to be me. I'm going to come perform. And a bunch of incredible artists throughout the night. We're doing 2 shows. We're doing a daytime show, matinee, strictly for the kids.
Nice.
And for the kids, a lot of these kids, it's the first time that they ever been to a concert. And then that night, the adults gonna come in, we're gonna rock and roll and soul and take it to the next level.
How cool is that?
And then next Tuesday, the 27th, is a talent show that we do every year at Radio City Music Hall. What we do for that event is a lot of kids facing a lot of obstacles. Foster care kids, kids going through cancer, homeless kids, a lot of kids with physical and mental and financial, obstacles. What we do is very unique because I had to wait till I was almost 30 years old before I played Radio City Music Hall. We give these kids Radio City Music Hall to perform, dance, sing, play instruments, rap, whatever it is that they want to do. They get the opportunity to bless the stage of Radio City Music Hall. And the beautiful thing about that is the thing that happens that night isn't just about that night. You know, for them to be to get up on that stage, and regardless of what they're going through, chemotherapy, stories are a lot of horrible stories. But that night, what happens on that stage is something that these kids take with them for the rest of their lives. Absolutely. It builds confidence and an enthusiasm about life that, you know, you can be successful, you can overcome any obstacles, and it's one of the greatest events that I've ever done. It's actually cooler than the Grammys.
It's cooler than the Grammys. I believe it. Well, it's such a great cause, so you want to give. It's a great way to give back, and I know it doesn't stop there. It's an organization that works all year round.
Yeah, what's beautiful about the Garden of Dreams is I have a saying, you just can't come into these communities and give out turkeys on Thanksgiving, and then these people in these communities wait a whole another year to see you. You just can't come to the hood and give out coats and stuff on Christmas and presents. Now that's good. But the beautiful thing about the Garden of Dreams, they stay involved with these kids and the families throughout the year. They stay involved with the education, what's going on in the house. There's many opportunities, whatever it is, wherever it is, and whatever it is that they need assistance for, the Garden of Dreams is there for them. We're planting a garden, we're planting seeds in the Garden of Dreams that turn into a forest of opportunity and success.
Wow, that was said perfectly. I love that.
Yeah,
well, it's also a cause that hits close home to you.
Exactly.
You found out later that you were adopted. You were about 35 years old.
I was 35 years old when I found out that I was adopted. And prior to that, I had woke up one day, and this is when Jam Master Jay was alive. Rest in peace, Jam Master Jay. This is before Jam Master Jay got shot and killed. It was a traumatic period in my lifetime. I just woke up one day after Pete Rock, big shout out to Pete Rock, one of the, if not the best producer in hip hop history. In 1993, he produced a song called Down with the King for Run-DMC. And you know, in the 90s, hip hop had changed. We were respected, You know what I'm saying? People still love Run DMC, but nobody cared anymore. Because we're
different.
not on the radio, you know, it wasn't our time anymore. But Pete Rock produced this record Down with the King and put us back on MTV, back on the radio, back on the tours, back on the charts. Right when it happened, I wanted to kill myself. I just woke up the next day depressed. And there was just feeling inside me. I didn't know what it was. And it went on for a long time. And how I found out that I was adopted, I said, man, if I do jump off the bridge tomorrow and die, people know the Run DMC story, but they don't know the little boy Daryl. And I guess it was my spirit wanting to tell the world that I'm Daryl. Daryl makes all the Run DMC stuff possible. So I wanted to write a book, so I called my mom's up, and I was like, yo, Mom, I'm writing a book. I know my birthday's May 31st, 1964. Just to make it more interesting for the reader, I just want to know, how much did I weigh, what hospital, what time? She told me. Bye, I love you. Hung up the phone. An hour goes by. The phone rings. It's my mother and my father. Now, at this time in my life, I'm an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual records about to jump. My mother and father said, we have something else to tell you. And I'm like, what? I thought it was going to be something nostalgic or trivial. It was like, well, you was a month old when we brought you home and you're adopted, but we love you. Bye. Click. Yeah, everybody go on the phone. Yeah, everybody say, damn, on the phone like that. But they looked at it as the right opportunity. Yo, he's asking, we got to tell him. I'm like, damn, yeah, to tell me like that. But when I found out that I was adopted, even though I was already in a depressed state anyway, as traumatic as that revelation was, a peace came over me. And then I thought about my mother and father taking care of me. I thought about all those teachers and all those coaches and everybody around me that always inspired me and encouraged me to do the right thing. You know, my mother and father, I went to Catholic school my whole life. So my mother and father paid for me to go to every school that I went to. And once I found that revelation that I was adopted, I found out that I was a foster kid. So me not being ashamed of my situation, I just started talking about it. And how I met the Garden of Dreams was, I was going around to a lot of agencies and a lot of group homes and a lot of facilities here in the city that the Garden of Dreams was, working with. And I had left one day, and like we said earlier, I was saying, man, I wish there was an organization that would stay involved with these families and these kids, throughout the year. Somebody was like, D, there's an organization. And I was like, yeah, right, yeah, MSG, Madison Square Garden, yeah, there's this great organization called the Garden of Dreams. And right when that revelation came to me is when the Garden of Dreams approached me. So I am one of those kids that the Garden of Dreams work with. So, I don't like to say I'm celebrity. I don't like to say that I'm famous. What I am is a living, breathing example of what happens when you give every child born into this universe the opportunity to be the people that they were put here to be. And that's why working with the Garden of Dreams is so close to me.
I love that you're giving back in this such a meaningful way. It's really special.
Well, everybody has their responsibility, but I believe my responsibility is even greater because I learned a lot. When I was a kid, I looked up to John Lennon. I looked up to John Fogerty. I looked up to Neil Young. And these guys, even though they were celebrity rock gods, the music that they made, the most important inspiration and purpose for their music was to address the issues of all the people in their audience. So me coming from a hip-hop standpoint, hip-hop came out of the Bronx, and in the early 70s, late 70s, and early 80s, it was a war zone. But here was a place where it was just death and despair and destruction and crime and drugs and gangbanging, and the Bronx was burning. Out of that chaos came all this beautiful music. And, a lot of young people nowadays don't know those early MCs and all those DJs making those records, they were the gangbangers and they were the drug dealers. But they stopped gangbanging and stopped selling drugs and said, there's a beauty inside of all of us that if we utilize what's inside of us, we can change our surroundings. So, when I was blessed to, step on the same stages and touch the same mics as Melly Mel and Grandmaster Caz and Kool Moe Dee, with the inspiration of all the rock music that I grew up listening to, Fogerty and John Lennon and Neil Young, I knew that I had a responsibility not only to make people have a good time, but to change the conditions if that was in my power. and that's what I wanted to do.
And also with the, you're doing such a positive thing now. I think that Run DMC's music also has a positive message.
Oh, of course,
so,
of course.
And you talk a little bit about that and whether or not you guys were conscious of changing the game at that time. Did you know that the sound was going to break through to?
No, not really. Our main motivation at that time was, let's just get a record on the radio and have Red Alert Mr. Magic play it. Once that was done, once that was done, that was success to us. But like I said, when I came into it, I came from a lower middle class neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I went to Catholic school my whole life. I'm a little nerdy kid that was always on the honor roll, getting straight A's. I wore glasses and I read comic books. So I was the total opposite of what people would consider powerful stepping on a microphone. But then I saw a creative power in the arts, because for me, the arts succeeds where politics and religion fails. And I was looking at all these guys, records like The Message and Planet Rock, all the records that were giving the message about how the world was. And then you had a lot of rappers and a lot of artists and a lot of singers singing about the vision that they had. So my thing was, even in the dirt poor ghetto, there's some beauty. So I was like, man, if I get on a mic and put the same ego and braggadocio and intellect and attitude that people get on a mic and say, I'm a gangster, I'm gangbanging, I sell drugs. I said, if I take that same energy and rap about positive things, maybe there can be change. And when I got on the mic, I never went to jail. I didn't sell drugs. I'm not in a gang. I don't have no guns, so I'm not going to rap about that. But I saw something was really powerful by me getting on the mic and going, I'm DMC, and the place to be. I go to St. John's University, and since kindergarten I acquired the knowledge. After 12th grade, I went straight to college. Now, that was one of the first rhymes that I kicked on my first record. Right?
By the way, how great was that? Impromptu.
Thank you. But the powerful thing about that was the younger kids in my neighborhood came up to me and was like, yo, Daryl, how in the hell you go to St. John's University and you got Adidas and a Cadillac and a gold chain and gazelles and stuff like that? And now I got dialogue with them. I was like, I was always a straight A student, this and that, honor roll, this and that. So they're looking at me with everything that the drug dealers got, and they was like, whoa. So some of those kids threw away the guns, stopped selling the drugs, and went and got high school diplomas and said, I'm going to go to college. Now, a couple didn't get the message and went out there and ended up in jail or dead. But when I saw that happening, I knew it was a powerful thing. I knew that there could be a progression in other people's lives by what we were producing.
Sure.
Wycliffe said to me when I saw Wycliffe a couple of years ago, he said, DMC is the only MC that can rhyme about St. John's University, chicken and collard greens, and Christmas and make it gangster. I was like, whoa, I never thought of it like that. But we knew that the message in the music could work without being preachy. We didn't say you was wrong for being in the gang. You're wrong for selling drugs. We just showed the other alternatives that was available to all these kids, which is what everybody in any position of power should do. We need to make those opportunities available for those kids going through those rough times and facing those obstacles. Because look what happened to me. When you want the world full of DMC and DMCettes running around, reading comic books, rapping about Christmas time and chicken and collard greens.
I understand you didn't even want to rap about Christmas time. The Christmas and Hollis wasn't a song that you were really interested in doing.
Yeah, we didn't think it was cool at the time because it got to the point when a couple of months ago they announced that hip-hop is the #1 music globally, surpassed rock and roll. Well, for us, it was always the #1 music. I remember Jay saying, it's always going to be big because it's big to us. But in those early years, we didn't want the commercialization of our art form. Now, it's cool. You can commercialize and get your money, but we didn't want the commercialization of our art form to be disrespectful to this hip-hop stuff. Because, Run DMC, Public Enemy, LL, Eric B. and Rakim, everything time we do something for hip-hop culture, we're thinking about everybody before rap is the light. Because those are the real pioneers. So if it's not going to do justice to their legacy, Zulu Nation, Furious 5, Funky 4+1, Cold Crush 4 MCs, Treacherous 3, Fantastic 5, Crash Crew, if it's not going to do them justice, we ain't going to do it. So we was like, man, y'all trying to ruin our hip-hop, man. You don't make no corny Christmas record in #2. we didn't want to be corny, but number two, we always thinking about people before us. People don't know that the first Christmas record was actually by Curtis Blow. Did y'all know that Curtis Blow and it was a hit. It wasn't a hit to the world because it didn't go where our record went. Right. But Curtis Blow's Christmas Rapping is one of the #1 freestyle breakbeats ever. And it was the first Christmas record ever. Curtis Blow was the first major artist, first rap hip-hop artist signed to a major label. But Curtis Blow had it. So, you know, you can't bite, you can't be a copycat, and there's a lot of that going on now, but that's another talk.
I was going to ask you where y'all want to know.
It was like, yo, we can't make a this is how the Christmas and Holidays came about. Where it's like, yo, we can't make a Christmas record because we don't want to be corny, and number two, Curtis Blow already made one. But the thing that made us make the record was our publicist, Bill Adler. Shout out to Bill Adler. He came in with the record that he wanted Jay to sample. And he was like, I really think you guys should make this record. He was like, nah, Bill, we don't want to be corny. We don't want Melly Mel and Flash and everybody mad. And he put the record on the turntable and put the needle on the record, and that thing said dun 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 do 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 do. All right, we making it. I got my rhymes ready. So
amazing.
The music, the track of the song motivated us to do it, and then it was an honorable thing to do because it was the only rap song on the very special Christmas record, which was a record where all the proceeds go to the Special Olympics.
I remember that record. I had that on repeat. So Bruce Springsteen was on that, Madonna, you guys. It was a big... It was,
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston, And you guys were the last track, I think, on the second side, maybe, if I remember correctly.
But most of the stuff that we did that became successful was done sincerely because it was fun, and we just wanted to be, you know, known as the best DJs and MCs to represent the hip-hop culture.
It's incredible. I mean, a song like My Adidas, that was a song that also kind of had a first in a way because of
we was the first non-athletic entity to get a major endorsement from a major apparel company. Let's see how that sounds now.
Yeah. But now it's like, you know, all over.
Yeah, I was going to say, but now, even that record, we didn't make it to get a deal with Adidas. When Russell approached us, he was like, y'all should make a record about our sneakers. And he was like, you know, just make a record about sneakers. So I didn't want to just make a record saying, I got more sneakers than y'all, I'm DMC, and I got money, look at me. You know what I'm saying? I got a bigger chain than you. I didn't want to do that. My motivation for the record came because there was this doctor in our neighborhood who would do these newsletters. And they were very worthy newsletters. Once a week, he would put out newsletters, and it would be on diabetes, health, heart attacks, diet, any problems in the community. And one of the newsletters he put out said it was called Felon Shoes. And he was right half the way. He was like, when you see those young brothers and sisters in front of the local grocery store with this new sneakers on, out there in the fresh gear and stuff like that, they are the problem of our neighborhood. And what he was saying was, excuse me, the first thing a drug dealer would do when they got some money was go buy some new kicks, Gazelles, the big gold chain and stuff like that. So it's almost like the community was judging the book by the cover. Because I'm out on that corner, I'm in St. John's University. My other friend who had every color Adidas was working 3 jobs to get those sneakers. We wasn't selling drugs. So when it was time for me to write my rhyme about it, I just wanted to say, okay, these sneakers are here on the corner in front of the grocery store where they're selling drugs. But my Adidas walked through concert doors and roamed all over Coliseum floors. I stepped on stage at Live Aid. All the people gave in the poor got paid. Man, my whole career I was doing charity stuff without thinking about it. But I wanted to let them know, yo, these sneakers were on stage at Live Aid with, you know, Mick Jagger and Tina Turner. And, you know, these sneakers here on the street corner walk every day up and down the hallways of St. John's University. So I wanted to give our generation and our culture and let the powers that be, you know, just because we look a certain way, you don't know what's inside of us. So everything was always motivated by being fun, truthful, but at the same time, it had a powerful impact on, you know, what politics and all of these laws where people who don't understand a certain people couldn't make advancement at.
What do you think of the current hip-hop culture?
The current hip-hop culture is cool. The only thing different with the current hip-hop culture is, I heard KRS-One say this one time, yeah, we was getting money, we was making records, and, we was touring, we was on the radio and stuff like that. But our first concern was the people in the audience. We didn't want to put ourselves above. We didn't want to be considered celebrity. Now, that being said, because hip-hop is this big business, of course there's going to be that celebrity thing added to it. So right now, I would think with hip-hop, there's just a lack of responsibility. And what I mean by that is this. Freedom of speech. You can say and do what you want. And this isn't about censorship. But if you know you have the power, see, hip-hop dictates how people talk, how people dress, what people smoke, what people drive, what people wear, what people drink. So wouldn't you think within all of that power, we should be addressing how people live? And what I mean by that was, my generation of hip-hop, school shootings, cop shootings, the state of education here, the crazy-ass president. We rocked. As soon as something happened in my generation, and I'm not speaking, I'm 53 now. Yeah. I didn't change the world when I was 53. I didn't change it when I was 43. I didn't change it when I was 33. I changed it when I was fresh out of high school. So we were young people who weren't afraid to speak what needed to be spoken. Now we're in a safe zone. We went through 2 Gulf Wars. Did anybody sing about the war? When I look back at the rock and roll dudes, Bob Dylan, he pulling that guitar out, he's going to sing about it. John Fogerty, he's going to sing about it. John Lennon's going to sleep naked in a bed in the Hilton Hotel to protest the war. Right, nowadays, hip-hop is real soft. And what I mean by that, they like, I'm not going to say nothing good and important because it's going to mess up my street cred. But that's what punks do. We come from what? The mayor did what? All right, make a record about it. It'd be 4 and 5 records. We wouldn't never forsake our responsibility. Because think about it. An example that I mean, and those little records can change the world. People's perception of New York City in the 70s was New York is heaven. Why? Because of Studio 54. And my joke is if you look at disco and look at hip-hop now, same thing. Bentleys, Rolls Royces, champagne, sex, everybody's getting high, money, this, diamond and gold. And everybody thought New York City was heaven. I mean, even Hollywood. Los Angeles, Hollywood was coming here to party at Studio 54. All the athletes, all the actors, all the musicians, everybody was coming here because they thought New York was so good. But it took some young brothers and sisters from the burning Bronx to tell the world the truth. When Mel came and said, broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the station door, I just don't care. I can't take the smell. People was like, oh, what? New York is like that? And then Africa Bambaataa and Zulu Nation came with Planet Rock, and then we came with It's Like That. So we told the truth. As soon as something happened, the Board of Education is messing up, the rappers were going to make a record. Chuck D, a public, what just happened? Chuck was 21. I'm a man, damn it. I'm 21 years old. Don't treat me like no boy or kid. And we would address the issues. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's in this party mode, but they're overlooking the truth about what's going on in these streets, what's going on in the schools, what's going on in the White House. Nobody's addressing those issues. So that's the only difference right now. People don't really know the power of hip-hop. Run-DMC 1998, Run-DMC, EPMD, Eric B. and Rakim, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Big shout out to Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith and Eric B. and Rakim. We on tour. We standing on the side of the stage and Rakim is on stage. He's not saying, I am a stick-up kid, praise me because I'm destroying your community. He said, I used to roll up. This is a hold-up. But now I learn to earn because I'm righteous. And he's a young man, so all the little shorties behind him is like, yo, the God MC said we ain't got to do that. Now what I'm saying is this. If you talk about a gun on your record, the very next record should be about not using a gun. If you talk about a strip club on your record, everybody don't go to strip clubs. Why not make a record about your aunt who you saw work every day, 24 hours a day to send 10 kids to college? See, there's a lack of our true representation about what's going on in the streets and communities, not just in New York and not just in LA. I'm talking about all over the world. When you go over to Europe, they're not into this party, get money type of hip hop, because look at the situations they into, the rebellious, anti-government, yo, we got a voice and we're going to be heard. That's why they're using hip hop. So everything that I'm doing now at 53 years old is just a manifestation of the foundation that was built when I was making all those records. Be cool, go to school, don't mess with drugs and thugs, and you'll be cool. That's like crazy to tell a kid in the city. Because most kids, they thinking, man, my only way out is to be an athlete or to be a rapper or to sell drugs and get the quick money. But people need to know hip-hop didn't just create rappers. I was in St. John's University. I didn't graduate. Chuck D of the controversial Public Enemy was a graphic arts student out at Adelphi University on Long Island. Kool Moe Dee, I couldn't believe when Kool Moe Dee started rhyming about school on his records. He lived in the Bronx. I went to Catholic school. I had a house and a backyard and everything. I didn't live where Moe Dee was, but Moe Dee, what he said in the 1980s made me not be afraid to say my Sucker MC rhyme. I'm DMC in the place to be. Moe Dee said on this record, he did a record, the Treacherous 3 did a record called Yes We Can. And if y'all remember, Obama's tagline when he was first running was Yes We Can. And it's a true story. I was in Japan, and when Obama first won, we in Japan, and everybody was sitting there waiting for Obama, and when he won, the Japanese people, everybody in my crew, and everybody that was in the room, all the journalists, it was like, yeah, everybody was jump up and celebrate, right? And I was sitting there like this. And somebody noticed me, and it was like, yo, DMC, what do you think about it? I said, yo, I never thought I would see a black president in my lifetime, this and too. But then I said, yeah, but this don't impress me. And when I said that, you could hear a pin drop. So I'm looking, the whole room is looking at me. I was like, yeah, this don't impress me. And then I noticed it got quiet. I looked, everybody was looking up. Let me explain myself. 20 years before Obama came, Kool Moe Dee and them did this record called Yes We Can, where they sampled the Pointer Sisters song. I know we can make it. I know that we can. I know darn well that we could work it out. Yes we can. Yes we can. Dopest record ever. And the record started like this. Now this is over 25, maybe 30 years now. Think about what's going on in the world now. Moe Dee and them opened up this record like this. It said, evil destruction, tax deduction, price inflation rocks the nation, and unemployment is on the rise. It's hard to find a compromise, but if it lasts like this for a long enough time, won't lead to nothing but a higher level of crime. So we say, and then he went in to drop all these issues. So everything that politicians been talking about for the last 30 years before Obama even won that spot, Moe Dee and them had already prophesized we had the ability to make that change anyway. But what I wanted to say was, it came time for Moe Dee to break off and say it's freestyle rap. So I'm a little kid growing up in Hollis, Queens, New York, doing all the nerdy, geeky stuff that the world didn't think was cool. So I really didn't have nobody to look up to, you know what I'm saying? I went to Catholic school. Mm-hmm. All I did was get good grades and read comic books. So there wasn't anybody that I could relate to in this physical world that I was living in. So I had my comic books to turn to, because I could look up to Tony Stark, I could look up to Bruce Wayne, I could look up to Peter Parker, who lived in Queens like me, and they were all smart. They were awkward like me, but they were smart, and they were superheroes. So that was badass to me. But then here in this plane of existence, this dude, Kool Moe Dee from the Bronx, like back in the day, the Bronx was the Bronx. Like even Harlem was Harlem back in the day. Hell, up in Harlem and Superfly was, go to Harlem right now, it's beautiful. Or back in the 70s, 80s, it wasn't like that. But this kid from up in Harlem and up in the Bronx, he said, I'll never forget his rhyme. He said, once a nobody from the neighborhood, I took a hop to the top because I knew that I would excel over the rest because I make progress. He said, I don't consider it luck because I'm not blessed. He said, I got my life all together, love the way that I live, go to school, know I'm cool, and I think positive. And then he said this, it's all right to have fun, lots of pleasures and joy, but it's the brain that separates the men from the boys. It wasn't digital back then, so I had to move the needle back. It's like, this guy, Kool Moe Dee, said, and he's, 16, 17, 18? It's a brain that separates the men from the boys, and I'll never forget that. And that's a powerful thing because it pays itself forward, that thing pay it forward. Because now I kick my rhyme, 15 years into my career, I'm doing an interview on the radio, and a guy calls in. You know, we're going to take some calls because DMC's in the studio. Guy calls in. Yo, DMC, man, what's up, man? I just want to say my name is Peanut from Houston, Texas, DMC. I just want to say something, man. just for y'all saying what y'all said. Y'all didn't preach it, just for saying what you said about school being cool. Here goes DMC talking about he's in St. John's University and he got diplomas and stuff like that. He said, I'm sitting here in Houston, Texas. I thought I had it all. I'm selling drugs to get my Adidas. I'm selling drugs to get my Mercedes and my Gold Chase and my Gazelles and my weed and my 40 ounces and stuff like that. And here comes DMC and running them and LL and Public Enemy talking about school and education's cool. He said, I realized I didn't have it all. So he said, just so he could say, I got my Adidas, I got my Gazelles, I got my boombox. He said he went and got a GED just so he could say, I'm complete now. But then it didn't stop there. He said, man, with that GED, I was able to take weekend courses at the local community college. He said, when I walked in them doors, I saw a whole world of possibility I did not know exist. Man, I'm sitting here in Houston, Texas, in $1 million house with 5 whips outside, and that's because of hip-hop. See, that's the difference now. We was getting money, we was getting fun, but our most important concern was to everybody listening to us. And going back to the Chuck D story, we standing there watching Rakim, and Chuck goes, you know what's the most important thing about this hip-hop? And we all, yeah, man, we getting money videos. He said, nah. Chuck goes, we on TV, we on radio, running them got us getting endorsements. We making movies now. We always doing interviews. There's always a microphone and a camera on us. He said the most powerful thing about this hip-hop thing is not the business, it's the power of communication, and I never forgot that.
I love that. That's really great. Well, that's a great place to pause this portion of the interview. We have some questions from the crowd.
Oh, cool.
Let's get to it.
Questions from the crowd, y'all. I like that. That has a ring to it.
Hey, so you started your own comics line.
Yes.
I was wondering, how early in your career did you want to get into comics, and did you put your own stories into any of the comics?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes. 3 years ago, I started DMC Publishing Company, and the DMC means Darrow Makes Comics, because that's what I'm doing. I can run this DMC thing in the ground. But I didn't want to do a comic book. Before hip-hop came over the bridge and to change my life, and before 70s rock and roll radio here in New York City, all I did as a kid was read, draw, and collect comic books. DC was cool, Batman, Superman, The Flash was one of my favorites to read and draw. But Marvel comic books, Stan Lee was brilliant because he had the superheroes in New York. So I was always attracted to Marvel. Now hip-hop comes over the bridge. I put down my drawing pencil and I picked up the pen and started writing rhymes. My comic book came about because of this. I went to a music meeting. And I was meeting a young man named Riggs Morales, who, if you don't know who Riggs is, he was Eminem's right-hand man over at Shady Records for the rise of that great empire. So I'm going to a music meeting, and this is how dope being a geek and nerd is. You know what I'm saying? They try to stereotype us and say we corny and we don't know and we punks. No, we're the most gangster movement on the face of the earth in any culture. But back to the story. I'm sitting there, I go to a music meeting with Riggs, and I'm sitting there with Riggs, and Riggs goes, yo, I'm usually very professional, but I'll never get this chance ever again in my life. He said, I usually don't fan out. And he used these words, but DMC, man, you was like my superhero, man, the way you looked, the way you sounded, this and that. He said, what was it like when you was a kid? And I was like, well, all I did was read and collect and draw comic books. He was like, comic books? I was like, yeah. Then he goes, comic books? I'm like, what you whispering for? I said, yes. We sat there for 3 hours and we talked about comic books. And I just talked about the influence and this and that. And it was Riggs who said, yo, D, you should do a comic book. I said, nope, you're not going to, nope. I said, you ain't going to get me. I'm not doing no comic book. And he said, why not? I said, I don't want to be another rapper thinking just because I had hit records I could do everything. Because rappers have a way of ruining a culture, and us geeks and nerds, we're very critical, right? Think about it. Rappers will come in, I got hit records, no, stay in your lane. But Riggs said, think about it, right? But Riggs said, yo, D, you can do with a book everything and more that you've been doing with your music for the last 30 years. And I was like, what you talking about, Riggs? And he said, inspire, educate, motivate, and entertain. So it was Riggs Morales who told me, yo, let's do this comic because you're official. My first love is comic books. I never wanted to be in show business. When I started writing my rhymes, it wasn't just to be rich and famous and look at me. When hip-hop came over the bridge from the Bronx, I was like, oh, shoot. you can tell stories about who you are over music, and that was my motivation. So 3 years ago, we started the Darryl Makes Music comic book company to give all writers, inkers, pencilers, artists, letterers, colorists, and graffiti artists an opportunity to have their works published. You know, there's a man, I'm 53, so there's somebody 50 and older who never got to work for Marvel and DC. I want to give that person an opportunity before they leave this earth. And I'm 53, so there's people 49 and younger, all around 10 and 11 and 12. If I run into a kid at 15 years old whose work is incredible, I'm putting him in my book next year. So I came to the comic book industry to do what I did in the music industry, to crash through walls, come through floors, and bust through ceilings and knock down doors to give all of y'all a chance.
Love it. Thanks for that question. All right, who's next? We're right here.
Hi. So since you and so many other hip hop artists revolutionized and defined the hip hop culture in the '90s, and
Yes.
how you said that hip hop today has been very quiet, is there any hip hop artists that you listen to nowadays?
Do I listen to hip hop artists?
I mean, like.
Do I have to answer that?
I meant like
truthfully?
artists that you.
No. Who
Yeah.
piques my interest?
Yeah, today.
Well, I don't listen to hip hop, not because I don't like it. Right now, all I listen to is classic rock and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Queens and stuff like that. Because the record King of Rock in '85, I really liked rock and roll. Right now, the person who I say is the personification of how to do it without even putting it on the forefront, but it's always on the forefront, is Chance the Rapper. And what I like about him, I'll hear how great his independent deal is and all that, and how he's doing all his business himself. But I like to see what's in the news, what he's doing with the schools and what he's doing in the communities. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the guys that know he has a responsibility, and he's utilizing it. There's also, who else do I listen to? The kid out of Detroit. What's his name? I met him at Adidas All-Star. Little Eric is not here. Little Eric is my guy. Who's that guy? Remember I heard that guy? But that being said, there's a lot of artists right now making some really good, relevant, socially conscious, inspiring, motivating music. And my only problem is that, why don't they play it on the radio? You turn the damn radio on, everybody's sipping syrup and smoking blunts. And there's so much talent, but Chance the Rapper is the personification of how to do it in this day and age and still have your fun. So Chance is my man. And I like Chance because they say we look alike.
All right, who's next?
Hi, thanks for being here. You're a legend. I grew up on your stuff. First off, if you like Chance, you should check out Childish Gambino. Just saying.
Oh, I know him.
Okay.
Glover guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
making good TV shows, though.
That's right. He's making everything.
I don't need to hear him rap. I want to hear the TV shows is really good. The movie stuff. That's the next thing I got to conquer.
Speaking
If
of...
he's doing the land, I'm getting ready to do Hollis.
Yes.
Yeah, Gambino, he's a beast. I love him.
No, he's a beast. He's awesome. My question is super cliche, but I want to know, in terms of all music, what's your top 5, dead or alive?
My top 5, Daryl. What do you mean? Artists ever?
Yeah, in terms of all music.
Oh, in terms of all music, top 5, dead or
Artists,
alive.
yeah.
Sarah McLachlan's #1 because her record saved my life. Sarah McLachlan's Angel kept me from jumping off the roof. I heard, in the arms of an angel, fly away. And something in me said, life may be hell, D. You may be going out of your mind, but if something this beautiful exists, it's good to be alive. So I listened to her record for 1 whole year, but that's a whole nother story. Sarah McLachlan for Making Angel. Nothing better. The Rolling Stones. Beatles are cool, but for some reason, I'm a Stone guy. Nirvana. Cold Crush 4 MCs. Everybody's like, who the hell is Cold Crush 4 MCs? Cold Crush 4 MCs. Those are the only rappers I put in the top 5. Greatest rap group ever. Everybody say Run DMC. No, Cold Crush 4 is the greatest ever. And then I would have to go, man, it's hard. Then I would have to go Neil Young. Yes. Those are my 5 greatest artists. That's my heartbeat every day. That's my motivation, I combined those 5 artists and created the monster that you see before you now. That's my top 5.
Thanks for those questions. And we're glad the monster that we see before us now is here today.
Yes. Be happy.
Yes.
I'm on your side. Because like Bruce Banner, you don't want to see me mad.
Thank you so much for coming by today. Give it
Thank
up
you.
one more time. DMC, everyone.
Thank you for having me.